President Trump's immigration crackdown is growing harsher by the day. This week, a 2-month-old baby with bronchitis was deported to Mexico just hours after he was discharged from a hospital in Texas. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is facing pushback from federal judges on the treatment of pregnant and nursing detainees in ICE custody. Courts are learning that nursing infants are being separated from their mothers, and pregnant detainees are being forced to live in health-threatening conditions, which have been, in some cases, followed by miscarriages. Joining us now is former acting ICE Chief of Staff Deborah Fleischaker. Deborah, thanks for coming on set this morning. I don't know how a 2-month-old with bronchitis is able to survive being in detention at all. I don't know how even a healthy 2-month-old baby can survive being in detention. Are there any rules around age limits on who is actually allowed to be detained? And I mean, do you think that ICE decided to deport this 2-month-old because they realized it would be potentially a huge problem with them if they had a death on their hand? I mean, I cannot stress enough how alarming this would be to me if I had a 2-month-old with bronchitis at all, let alone being in detention.
Absolutely. The Biden administration did away with family detention writ large. We didn't have family detention by the end of the Biden administration, so we clearly thought family detention was too harmful for children to justify the quote-unquote benefits. There are other ways of handling families in immigration proceedings, and they're choosing not to do that.
What are the other ways?
We had a process where we engaged, we put them through a process where they would move through the process quickly and either get a final decision that they could stay or leave within a matter of weeks as opposed to months or years in an attempt to be fairer to everybody, right? A quick determination before people put down roots and have, maybe additional U.S. citizen children is better for the system. It's better for the families. This administration isn't putting rules around who it puts in family detention. Even when we did have family detention, we didn't put tender-age children in there, and for some of the reasons that we just talked about. Detention is traumatizing on children. It's harmful to children. The evidence on that is extremely clear. It's very obvious. Anybody who does the reading understands the lifelong impact it can have on kids, and it should be only, there would have to be some real reason to do it. And unfortunately, I think the administration right now is doing it to scare people.
One of the other things that's probably very scary is that they're buying up these warehouses. I'm going to pull up this Project Saltbox, and I feel like we had this last week, but I feel like it is important for people to see. These are places in which ICE is buying warehouses. It sounds like they're spending $38.3 billion to boost their detention facility capabilities all over the country, in places where some of those don't seem like they have a big immigration problem because they're nowhere near Mexico. When you look at something like this, when you look at this AP reporting that immigration officials plan to spend $38.3 billion to boost detention capacity to 92,000 beds, as someone who has been in the room when these kinds of decisions, well, not these decisions, but other decisions on the ICE and immigration were made, what are your concerns here? And what does that tell us about what is going to happen in the future when they're saying they need this many warehouses, this much space?
Well, if they need that much space, they're intending to detain that many people, right? And there's no reason that we need to detain that many people. Detention should be saved for people who are public safety threats or who are going to be removed in the next few days. It doesn't need to be it shouldn't be punitive, right? It's civil detention, or it's supposed to be civil detention. I would say it is very difficult to run custodial environments well. It's difficult to provide the kind of care that people need, especially medical care. And with these warehouses, we're talking about worse conditions with many, many more people, which the outcomes of that are going to be predictable, and I'm scared of what we're going to see over the coming months.
I will say, for those people that are scared, all across the country, and Renee, this is E5, you're seeing people say, we don't want this warehouse in our area, and forcing developers to block ICE detention centers. So for people who are wondering if you have issues with this, you're wondering what you can do, this is one of those things that seems to have been working.
Deborah, I want to play some sound from a lawyer who represents several former and current detainees at the Dilley ICE facility. Watch this.
Life inside Dilley is extremely difficult. It is a prison for children, for toddlers, for babies. Children should not be detained any longer than 20 days. But the Trump administration is regularly holding children in detention for far longer periods. I'm currently representing 3 children who've been in detention for nearly 140 days, about 7 times the lawful limit.
Deborah, this is sort of amplifying what you were saying at the top of this segment, and I'm just wondering, how do you deal with an administration that doesn't give a damn?
I think we fight back where we can. We push back on the warehouses, right? We amplify the messages, the harm that's being done, and we don't let the Trump administration fade to the background in terms of what they're doing. They're trying to make this quieter right now because of the public outrage, and it's our responsibility to make sure they're not allowed to do that.
Great to make sure that they're not allowed to do that. Do you think, between the public pushback that Eugene talked about on the warehouses that they're buying, what we saw on the streets of Minneapolis and around Minnesota, that the tide is turning, and that the lawyer who we just saw, Laura Mukherjee, that she and other attorneys who are out there trying to uphold the Constitution and the rights of these people, that the tide is turning and that they will be more successful?
I think recent public opinion polls have definitely shown that the public is opposed to the extreme immigration measures that it's witnessing right now. I think the Trump administration is clearly trying to lessen the noise, like lessen the volume by removing people from Minnesota. And I think the piece that I stay focused on is that the goals haven't changed, right? So they nor the tactics. So while they may be trying to do this in a more diffuse way across the country as opposed to focused on one city, for example, the goals and the tactics remain the same, and the public needs to sort of stay aware of what's happening.
Deborah Fleischhager, former acting chief of staff at ICE, thank you so much for joining us this morning.